Aha, good morning. So W5, the the long running documentary news events documentary series by CTV, who they make news for drivers to turn everybody into drivers and make anyway. So they're the news media, as in the corporate news, as in like the conglomerated, companies owned by like a room full of losers who also own all the other stuff that feels like a scam in your life. Uh, they hate social media because it's taking away all of their like viewers, all of their screen time, and it's yeah. So now their big thing is exposing Russian election trolls and like social media trolls who are poisoning us with their fake news and whatever to try and influence elections. And it really sounds like, oh wow, they're doing some complicated social engineering. They must have something going on. They must be like impersonating other people and hacking into actual people's accounts and stuff like that. And they go through all this whinging, and W5's kind of new report is just this. It's just the sort of concentrated, syrup version of all this nonsense, where it comes down to like nothing really. Like the crux of it is they're going on Facebook and saying ridiculous stuff to try to muddy the waters, and we are so vulnerable to this somehow or whatever. I just suck at making them. So the the magic of the like Russian trolls is no real magic. They're just going online, starting groups, joining groups, spouting bullshit, getting friended by people, and spreading their rhetoric that way. But to listen to CTV guys talk about it, it's like, oh, they're investigating this huge conspiratorial thing. And like, yeah, it's a big conspiratorial thing to get people into your feed that will piss you off and push your buttons and then cause you to like not like politics and disengage or something like that. By just like, then they report on it when this guy went to present his like investigative documentary on the newscast. After they'd spent like 1 minute covering the climate protests here in Toronto, then they want to spend like 5 minutes talking to this guy. Well, he filibusters through basically saying Russians are getting paid to come online and post stuff and join groups and post stuff. But then they sort of, as they often do when they're talking about social media stuff, they talk about it as if it works differently from the way that it does. So this guy's like, oh, you can, if you just join a group where you're looking at puppy photos, then that's how these people can gain access to you, and then they can find out all this. They can hack into your Facebook, but they don't actually do that, and they don't actually get into how any of that would work, and it doesn't work that way. And it's really a lot like when they were talking to this like British girl who'd been suicidal, who'd been posting. She joined some like Instagram sort of like self harm group or something like that, and they wanted to pretend that Instagram was just deluging everybody with those kind of photos, and she got sucked in or something, and she got corrupted by Instagram, as if it works that way, which it doesn't. You go search for what you're interested in, join the groups that are doing stuff that you're interested in, and you post that stuff to those things, and you see the other people who have already decided they want to see that shit are going to see that shit. They so like once again, the CTV folks, they want to act like the internet is does not function the way that it does, and they want to act as if the whole takeaway from the story is you got to have trusted news stories and trusted, reliable news sources, and be careful about what you read. And of course, they offer this like nice warning about like question what you read. Think about it before you react emotionally and whatever. And but their main point is don't get your news from each other, from using the internet, using this format that you have switched to because our news network sucks. That like most people have just stopped watching TV news since it was all conglomerated, since it was all taken over by like I don't know, 5 losers in a room somewhere pulling strings, because it's run by 2 companies in Canada now. Like we get our news from, and yes, I know the good journalism is in text form. Yes, I know that. I'm so sorry. But video is an excellent way to present news. It's great. So when it gets taken over by like a few people and they make sure it sucks, and it really seems like they're trying to make it so crappy that the outcome is just that you hate news and that you hate politics and you hate the world and stuff, and you just think, oh, we're all going to hell in a handbasket. And I feel like the intended social engineering outcome is just broad disengagement. And look what we have. We're 3 generations into people being like, oh, I'm not political, I don't deal with politics, and make sure not to actually like watch city council meetings or actual political stuff going on. And this kind of I don't know, whinging in weird ways over social media stuff that is not working the way that you're kind of pretending it's working. It's a little bit pathetic. It's a lot pathetic. It's quite a bit pathetic. This Russian trolls thing, it's like, boy, if only there was some real substance to it, it would be kind of interesting. But no, they're just complaining about how if you friend somebody and there's some loser from far away who's being paid to write nonsense, then you might end up reading some of their nonsense and being fooled by it into holding some bullshit opinion. That's their whole. That's the premise of this whole complaint. But it's also, of course, the premise of like why internet spamming kind of works is if people are actually willing to go with that kind of thing, then it's like if Canadians are falling for this type of activity, then it shows our media literacy situation is really, really crap. And it is. We are pretty media illiterate. But I just find it funny how the remaining TV network news people who are part of this really, really corrupted kind of system of misrepresenting news are really trying to get everyone to stop using Facebook for their news by pretending that it works differently from the way that it does. As if we can't tell. So it's like, who are you trying to convince? Maybe they're trying to convince the people who don't use the internet and don't use Facebook and stuff, because I think that might be the goal. Because when I get into conversations with people who do not use social media apps, they've got this completely cracked out idea of how it works. They're like, oh yeah, when you get on there and there's just the stuff on there that everything is... Like, I've had to explain to so many people that when we're using Facebook, we are reading each other's posts. We're reading each other's stuff. I'd explain the very basics of this to so many people who are like television viewers and not really internet users, about the basics of Facebook. I'm like, no, you post your own content and you see your own content from your friends who you have decided you know and who you can get rid of in a heartbeat if you don't like what they're saying. And it's not this, I don't know, deluge of random stuff coming from random sources that we are plugged into and like hypnotized by. That's how people act who are not actual social media users. That's what they think. And when I see what's going on in the other world, the world of television news, which is so far removed from, like, most of the people I know haven't watched a newscast in a long time. It's just little bits of text in Facebook. That's cool. I don't have a lot of reading time. This is the thing. And I really do think video is a great way to present news. So I'm one of the people who, and I think this is a pretty small demographic, I get my news from these two worlds. So there's the world of, there's the CTV global and CBC world, and then there's the actual news, the normal news and text news, where actual legit news has retreated retreated into text form and retreated to the internet. And it's so funny because people on this side of the fence don't know what it looks like in TV newsland. And the people on that side of the fence who don't use Facebook and stuff, or I don't know. They have a really weird idea about how the internet works. So exactly the thing that the quote-unquote media is pretending to be concerned about Russian trolls doing to Canadians, as in, like, brainwashing us with a whole bunch of nonsense to make us hate politics or whatever, or hate each other. It's exactly what the TV news people are trying to do to non-social media users about social media users. So I guess they're kind of trying to drive a wedge between us to keep the non-social media users away from social media, as if it's possible. I mean, But that's probably a pretty surprisingly large chunk of people. And the stuff that they are willing to say about how the internet works is pretty freaky. As somebody who knows how the internet pretty much actually works, it's a little amazing to me that they could get away with that level of fake news. They're like, okay, yeah. So, so you go on Instagram and lie, and then the end of the thing is, oh yeah, you really have to be careful what you read on Instagram. Okay. After you just said a whole bunch of things about the platform that are so untrue, it's like if you hadn't said you were talking about Instagram, no Instagram user would think you were talking about Instagram based on the description. That's how far off it is. For my friends in the non-video news media side of the fence, you have no idea how cracked out it is on that side of the fence. For the people I know who are avoiding social media and relying on CTV and CBC and Global for their news in video form, you don't know how the internet works. You don't know how social media works. And you should probably check it out at some point. You can ask social media users how it works. Don't ask the people at CTV. Don't listen to the people at W5. They are bullshitters. End of rant. Loser.